Hello, we are doing our case study on the Syrian civil war in Lebanon.
So, one important piece of background information needed to understand Lebanon's involvement in the Syrian civil war is the complicated religious climate in Syria and Lebanon. In both of these countries, there are two different sects of Islam called Shia and Sunni, and the two different sects have a history of conflict. The Syrian civil war has religious ties because President Bashar al Assad belongs to the Shia Alawite sect, and most of the Syrian rebels are Sunni. And in Lebanon, the Sunnis joined the Syrian rebels. So, another important piece of background information to know is that Lebanon and Syria have close ties. Syria occupied Lebanon until 2005 and has maintained influence in Lebanon through Hezbollah, which dominates the Lebanese government. Also, Lebanon had their own civil war, which had religious conflict between the same two sects of Islam. And then one of the main triggers that really led to Lebanon's involvement was the assassination of a Lebanese intelligence official, which many people in Lebanon suspected was orchestrated by President Assad.
On March 15, 2011, the Syrian civil war began. Throughout 2011 and 2012, conflicts in multiple cities resulted in many deaths and injuries. In August of 2011, Obama began to get more involved in the conflict. The fighting continued to spread throughout the summer of 2012. From March to June of 2013, many towns were captured near the Syrian-Lebanese border. During the months of August and September, chemical weapons attacks killed hundreds of people. Under international pressure, Syria destroyed their chemical weapons production equipment in October. In 2014, peace talks ended and ISIS seized much of northern and western Iraq. On September 23rd, the U.S.-led coalition began airstrikes against ISIS targets in Syria.
By January of 2015, at least 220,000 people had been killed due to the Syrian civil war. On November 12th, two suicide bombers killed 43 people in Beirut, Lebanon, in a predominantly Shia Muslim neighborhood. 2 days later, 17 nations gathered in Vienna to resolve the issue. In early 2016, indirect peace talks between Syrian government and the opposition in Geneva collapsed after a few days. In February of the same year, US and Russia had a partial ceasefire in Syria. In May 2017, Hezbollah withdrew from the Lebanese side of the border. In July the same year, Hezbollah moved elite troops to the Syrian side of the border. They also increased the amount of airstrikes along the Syrian-Lebanese border.
The effects of the Syrian civil war began to spill over into neighboring countries. Starting from April 2011, refugees began to trickle into Lebanon. However, it was not until July of 2012 that a major flow of refugees began to seriously impact the host communities, municipalities, and government agencies. Lebanon is currently home to approximately 4 million citizens, and as of the winter of 2017, Lebanon is home to 1,011,366 officially registered Syrian refugees, making up 30% of the total population. In addition, the Lebanese government estimates nearly another 500,000 that are not registered with UN agencies. This sudden overpopulation has affected nearly every sector, from the economy, trade, health, education, waste management, the labor market, and public finance. Overcrowding has resulted in competition for employment, healthcare, education, and other resources. The Lebanese economy has been strained by the demands of refugees and political tensions from the Syrian conflict. This includes increased food prices, reduced employment opportunities, and higher rental costs. Furthermore, there has been a decrease in investment, trade, and tourism, possibly leading to social unrest due to the increased unpopularity of the refugees. According to the World Bank, the economic cost of the refugee population is about $4.5 billion annually. However, there have been some benefits as Lebanese exports to Syria in the beverages and tobacco sector have benefited from the war, as they have replaced some of the lost production in Syria.
Domestic pressures. Socioeconomic and fiscal pressures compound Lebanon's security conditions. Since 2011, the year the Syrian civil war began, small crimes have increased by more than 60%. Syrians make up approximately a quarter of Lebanon's prison population. Human trafficking of Syrian and Palestinian refugees in Lebanon is commonplace now. Additionally, the war has intensified the domestic and regional political struggle over post-Syria Lebanon and power sharing within. Health impacts. The health crisis has extended into Lebanon. Roughly 3,000 Lebanese fatalities have occurred due to this conflict. For example, in 2012, there were 9 measles cases in Lebanon, and by the following year, there were 1,760 cases. the year after that, they had a national immunization campaign. This is an example of how the growing rate of infection among Lebanese nationals reveals how conditions of unrest have exploited deficiencies in Lebanon's measles immunization coverage, leading to a regional crisis. Additionally, conditions such as overcrowded schools, deteriorating water supply, and inadequate waste management are also contributing to poor health impacts in Lebanon.
Thanks for listening.